Hey everybody, it's Ashley and welcome back to my kitchen for the last day, here comes the dog, for the last day of the Pantry Challenge for 2023. So for today's video, I was actually thinking that there were 2 weeks left in the challenge, but it's just more like 9 days. I was going to try to kind of group the last couple weeks in one video, but anyway, didn't work out that way. But we'll go over really quickly how this past week's of meals went and then make a quick plan for the next 9 days. And as I mentioned in a video that I put out a couple of days ago, I'm actually going to apply the way I normally meal plan to the Pantry Challenge and just kind of merge the two. One of the things that was kind of challenging about the Pantry Challenge for me is that normally the way I meal plan is in stacks of 3 meals at a time, or like meal blocks. And it's a way that I have completely simplified the way that I meal plan, because I get very overwhelmed when there are so many meals that go in so many different directions and I have to go out and find all these different things for all these meals. Now, one thing that's been great about the Pantry Challenge is that all the meals that I'm kind of creating are out of a lot of the food that we have here in the house. So I haven't had that level of overwhelm that I do when I have this list of meals that I want to make and my shopping list is a mile long. So let's just get into it and recap week 7. Similar to last week, similar to week 6, week 7, we were able to follow our meal plan exclusively. Everything just ended up working out really well with our schedule, and things sounded good on the nights that I had kind of planned to do these things. So we started out with Super Bowl Sunday. And like I said, we were going to make homemade subs. We had all the stuff for that. So we made homemade sub sandwiches and just snacks and things like that. For day 2, we did a tuna noodle casserole. Those have been a big hit in our house. We probably will keep them in maybe like the 2 to 3-ish week rotation going forward, because we've all enjoyed it so much. As we've been doing for about the last month, we had our burritos on Tuesday night. So we had a Taco Tuesday. On day 4, I made this ham and bean soup. To get our ham and bean soup going, I've been cooking this ham hock for a couple of hours, and it's going to make a really concentrated broth. So what I'm going to do is actually use this for 2 different meals, but we're going to get all the ham off the bone to use in the soup. And then last night I started some of these white beans soaking. And again, this is a meal stacking thing. So I'm going to be actually using some of these beans, not a lot, just a small portion of them for a different recipe. But I wanted to make sure that I just did them both as long as I was going through the work to soak the beans. But most of these are going to go in the soup, and they've been soaking overnight, which is it makes them a little bit easier to digest than the quick method, which you can do if you just like bring them to a boil for 5 minutes and then let them sit for an hour. This actually is better for digestion. So that's why I do that. So this is the start of our ham and bean soup. On day 5, after that delicious bean soup, we just kept it simple and made spaghetti. Day 6, we had our chicken rice broccoli skillet. And on day 7, it's leftovers. Before we make our last meal plan for this Pantry Challenge, one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about as just sort of it's been winding down is lessons that I've learned. And one of the big words that just sort of like continues to pop up in my head is the word improving. And I think that that's just what I'm doing. I'm improving so many different things. And I think throughout the weeks, I've talked a lot about this idea in general of just kind of like doing your best and making things better and improving and learning and kind of evolving with time with things as you learn and trial and error. And I think that's the best we can do. And I feel like really successful in this Pantry Challenge because I've continued to improve. And I feel confident that some of the things that I found to work really well for us, I fully intend to continue beyond this Pantry Challenge, which is, I think, probably the best thing a person could hope for, I could hope for, is that having an experience that is positive and so positive that there are things that I want to take with me and continue to keep as habits. So if you want to tell me what your biggest success was, or your biggest takeaway was, or like a theme that you feel like was most prominent for this pantry challenge, just throw them in the comments, because then we can all check it out. We are going to go through this meal plan really quick, and I'm going to do it close up to the food this time because it's all right here, and this way I can kind of talk and point things out. So the way that meal stacking works is you get a few primary ingredients, you focus your meals on that, and you build it out from there. And so I find that just so much easier. And so what I've got here is 3 different sections. So we're going to do 3 meals with each of these groups. So that'll give us all 9 days, and it'll work out perfect. So we've got some rice, stir-fry veggies, canned lamb, and broth. And these are going to be the inspirations for the following meals. We're going to do some burrito bowls, and they'll be a little bit, you know, the stir-fry veggies, that's maybe not typical in your burrito bowl, but we can put some like cumin and stuff in there when we saute them up. So I think it'll be a really nice flavor. And then we can top it with all of our, you know, salsa and sour cream and cheese, avocado. If you've got onions, anything like that, tops any burrito bowl really well. And then we're going to make a curry, which is also, the curry will also use the rice, the stir-fry veggies. That's when we'll use the broth. And then I did pull these out of my pantry, but these are not part of like my primary ingredients. I've got this can of coconut milk. And then this curry paste. It's so delicious. And besides those 2 things, when I make my curry, all I add is soy sauce and just my veggies, lots of onion and stuff like that. It turns out great. So those are those 3. Oh, I'm sorry. The last meal I'm going to make out of these is going to be wraps. I'll make some homemade tortillas. I'll make a little extra rice one night, and I'll probably saute some of these up. These have been in my freezer for a while, so I really want to try to use these. I'll saute these up, or maybe oven roast them and just kind of season them in a different way. We'll pop some of this on there for some really good protein. And maybe I'll make like some kind of like a sauce or dip or something out of the things that I can find in my fridge. So for these meals, I wanted to focus on using up some meat. I got 2 pounds of ground beef, some breakfast sausage. That's the meat. I also wanted to focus on this Swiss chard that I have in my freezer. Potatoes, tomatoes, those are sort of like the primary 4, meat being just 1. I'm just kind of grouping that in one. So I'm going to make meatloaf one night, roast some potatoes. I've got some other veggies just in like smaller amounts that I'll kind of throw in there too. So those will be my 2 focus ingredients for that meal. Then I'm going to do a breakfast hash. So I'm going to use this. I'll use more potatoes. I'm going to throw a bunch of this chard in there. And then we'll also probably use some eggs. And again, like onions, maybe a carrot or 2, something like that. Also throw in the hash. That'll be really tasty. And then the third meal, so when I make my meatloaf, I'm actually just going to use 1.5 pounds. I'm going to reserve a 1/2 pound of this meat and make another hamburger soup. So I'll use this quart of tomatoes. I'll be able to use a pint of green beans. We've got carrots and various things. I've got frozen peas still. So we'll get some of that stuff pulled out, but the rest of what's in there is pretty flexible, but I really want to make sure that I at least use those 3 things. For the last stack, we're actually going to do burrito bowls again, but it's going to have a very different flavor. We're going to do sweet potatoes, black beans, and then from there, again, I've got smaller amounts of other ingredients that I can cook up with those, but I really wanted to focus on those. Then I also am going to just do like a really veggie rich dinner where I'm going to roast up a lot of veggies. Maybe I'll get some meat involved in there. We've got more canned lamb I can use, something like that. But for primary ingredients for one of the meals is just going to be some really delicious oven roasted veggies. And it's going to be a lot of different things. Use up some of the potato for that. They're not all going to be used in the burritos. We'll use our last bag of broccoli, cauliflower. I wanted to get these out. So we'll just really round it out with lots of veggies and get some protein put in there. And then for the last meal, I'm actually just going to make a soup, and we're just going to make it do. I've got all of this broth here. Any leftover veggies from these previous nights we're going to throw in. But I want it to be a really brothy soup, so this is going to be the primary focus for that. And we'll just kind of round it out with what we have left over here and little things that I can find, again, just in smaller amounts. This is our primary focus, as using the broth, and it's going to be a brothy soup. So that is what we're going to do. I pulled out 3 extra things that I just want to talk about quick. Applesauce, we've been enjoying that. That's some cinnamon applesauce. Zucchini, I'll make some zucchini bread or muffins this week. And we also have all of this freezer burned. I can't even think of the name. Rhubarb. And so I'm going to do something with this. Baking something. It's going to be something, but I want to pull that out and use that too. So that is the last 9 days of the pantry challenge. All right, you guys, that is all I have for you for this pantry challenge. Those are our last 9 meals. I went ahead and quickly put all that stuff that was frozen in our freezer, and I used another one of these and just kind of set it kind of close to the top so that it's all kind of contained and not mixed in with the rest of the things. Easy to grab, and now I have all of this stuff packed away, ready to bring into our upstairs pantry. I truly, truly appreciate you being here with me for this pantry challenge. There are so many new faces that have shown up, which is so exciting. I hope you have a wonderful day. Lots of good things coming forward, and we will see you soon.